JT Crowley is talking books. On the show, you'll hear from emerging talent and seasoned veterans from around the world.
Hello, I'm JT Crowley, the host of Talking Book Show on Web Talk Radio. And today I have a very exciting author for you. She is Christine Burton, and she's from Alabama in the United States of America. What is she here for? Well, she's here to talk a little bit about herself, but she's here to talk about her book, a book about baking and cooking recipes. Now, there are over 200 recipes in this book, everybody. Yes, anybody can get an inspiration from her cooking, her recipes, her menus, her dishes, but it's mainly aimed at teenagers, hence the word teens in the opening title of the book. It's really, she wants teenagers to enjoy her cooking, have fun creating her cooking, and to make these meals and socializing with their friends. And as I said, learning about food, having fun, creating food, and just getting great inspiration from her menus. So what's in this book? Well, yes, I know, but I'm going to ask Christine herself to come on and talk to me about a little bit about herself and this fabulous book of hers. Christine, come and join me.
Hi, John. How are you?
I'm very good. And I mean, we all love food. And when I looked at your book, all these recipes in this big book, I thought, wow, 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 wow. These youngsters are going to enjoy it. So, would you be very kind enough to tell the audience who you are, what's this book about, why you wrote it, and what can people get when they go to have a look at your webpage?
Sure, I'd be glad to. I'm author Christine Burton. I am from the United States of America. I lived in Wisconsin, near the Lake Michigan, and now reside in Alabama, which is more near the Gulf of America. And the book, being so large, is basically done purposely. I wanted to have a resource that anybody that can cook can go to find recipes, how to cook them. It's for beginners, but yet you can be challenged. I have it for teenagers specifically. They watch a lot of competitions. I know in Britain they have a lot of food competitions. And so I have, and the states do as well. So I geared it towards them. Um, I have two children. I have two grandchildren, and my husband, he's been very good for me. He helped back me on this and gave me great support. So it's based off of the students in my school that I used to work for. I've had other careers. I had medical and a legal background, but I'm basing the book off of my food service and my paraprofessional position, wherein I worked and supported kids from ages, well, the kindergarten through the charter school, which is after high school. So I worked with a lot of them and found out what their needs were. And I found out that there is a need for my type of book. Four of my students participated in the actual making of the book.
And would I be right in saying, Christine, that they're probably in some of the photographs that are scattered throughout the book?
Correct. That's them.
Wow. So, Christine, let's let's open this book. Now, I understand, Christine, that within the book you have a baking section and you have a cooking section, and that overall there are 200 recipes close on. And each recipe you give the ingredients and you also give a step-by-step guide as to how to create the dishes, and at the various stages what to do so that the young people can look at it, see what they need to get to get, to put this together, the food, the dish, and how to, you know, make it and follow your instructions. And now, if you think everybody we're going to sit here and go through 200 recipes, I'm sorry to disappoint you, we're not. Because we'd be here forever and a day. But what Christine and I have done is that we've selected certain dishes from different sections so that you can get a tantalizing flavor as to what this book is about. If you want to see all our recipes, well, I've got a very simple answer. Go and buy the book. But you can go to a web page because that's where you can get the book from and glean a little bit more about her there and get more of it, get more of what she does. And it says the book and the recipes you can get from there. Now, I'm going to go to the baking session to start with, and here we have a session on quick and yeast breads, and we also have where we've got 12 recipes here. And each recipe, as I said, you give the ingredients and a step-by-step set of instructions. And for me, one of the ones that caught my attention was the cherry rhubarb mini loaves. So, and that's on page 10, everybody, of this book. So, Christine, talk to me about the fun young people have making these. I think they're muffins, aren't they? These cherry rhubarb mini loaves. Talk to me about these.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I want to make something clear is that every recipe in my book, which I will show you here just as an example, the size of the book, they're all base recipes and they can be used for any type of a food diet that you have. A nutritional thing is you can substitute your ingredients. You can use skim milks or you can use sugar-free sugars and stuff like that. So each recipe you can modify to your liking. And John's right, my book is divided into two sections. And in that section, I'll show you a picture, a glance of the cherry rhubarb mini loaves. And he's also correct. You can use them and make them as a muffin. So it's very versatile. My recipes are also very versatile. You can choose the purpose of the book is to teach you that you don't have to just purchase a book or a recipe and follow it identical. You can create your own and make your own cooking styles. The cherry mini loaves with the rhubarb, that one, there's things like you can substitute for rhubarb. You could use fresh cranberries, or I believe quince, I think is popular in the United Kingdom. That's kind of like a pear for those of you that are in the States. And they're yellow. Best to buy them yellow so they're a little bit more sweeter. And so that's just an example of something that you could substitute while you were in there. So with that in mind, you can make them ahead of time at night, have them, take them for your lunches at school. You could have your friends over and pick and choose what type of fruit you want to put in them and make it a variety. Pretty much these are baked in the oven around 375 degrees. Now you'd have to make adaptations according to the states and United Kingdom because I'm not quite sure what the difference would be there, but you want to make sure you check if you're in the United Kingdom.
I have, and my mum used to say, you can always tell when it's open the oven door and look at it, and if it looks good, it should be all right.
Or if it smells
Or
good.
if it smells good, everybody. Yes, it should be all right. Now, the second section under the baking section is desserts. And I have to say, the raspberry tea scones on page 54 look really delicious. And the peanut butter cupcakes on page 50. So how much fun, can these youngsters, have in creating these little dishes for themselves here and people in general?
Well, first of all, here's a picture of the raspberry tea scones. As you can see, they're pretty much in a uniform type shape on here. Um, The idea of this recipe in particular to make it quick and easy for anybody or especially teenagers. I know that's a really good treat that they want to do with their coffee. Is scones usually will intimidate people. In this case, you can use whatever fruit you want. You could put bacon. You could make them savory with cheese. You can put whatever ingredients you want to substitute in. And if you do, make sure you write in the book what you are doing so next time it's available. Also, what intimidates most people, any age group, would be how to make them. And they think you have to make a dough and roll it all out and then cut it so that they're in equal portions. However, I found that all you have to do is take a big spoon or a cookie scoop and scoop it out and put them on a pan and you bake them. I have that in the book so that it'll help you to do either way that you want to do them.
You know what I think would be fun? And particularly for people who have got, teenagers, youngsters with learning disabilities and they go to their special schools. And I know they do cooking. Wouldn't this be great, for them to take in your book and take the ingredients in and have a session, with a group of them to, cook these for themselves in a group session and then enjoy eating them later?
Oh, actually, that's a great idea. The school, once they found out that I could cook and stuff, and that I was helping a lot of the special needs students, any age didn't matter. They all wanted to work in the kitchens with the regular students. And we do things like this where they can just scoop it out so they're not working with they don't understand some of them, the rolling it out and all of that. So it was very easy to do that. I also taught an after school program for kindergarten through fifth grade. And there, with the cookies and things like that, they wanted to show mom and dad that they could make them ahead of time and it's a lot easier for them to do something like just scooping them out. But as the teenagers did it, they chose to roll them out and change up the tea flavors, etc.
Have fun with it, everybody. And and the peanut butter cupcakes, they look delicious, on the page here. Um, and again, it's for people of different backgrounds, different cultures, different abilities, all to enjoy food. This is what Christine's book is about. So, take us through the peanut butter cupcakes.
Okay. First of all, make sure that you're not allergic to peanut butter because this would not be the appropriate one to do for peanut butter. However, if you are allergic to peanut butter and want to try doing something, you can. Here's a picture of them. You can substitute either almond or maple butter for the peanut butter to do a nice variety. And in the frosting, the cake mix, and the filling, etc., you would just substitute those ingredients in for the peanut butter, and you'd still be able to enjoy it. Also, I don't know if you can see, but on the top of the cookie on here, of the cupcake, you will see that the peanut butter forms an actual cookie. So when you pull them out, it actually looks like you're pulling out a tray of peanut butter cookies. Um, but instead, they are just the top. So you can eat the cupcakes that way. And let's say you're having a party with your friends and you want to put a filling in them. You can use little mini peanut butter cups. You could use a Rolo. I don't know if you're familiar with those with caramel, but any type of a candy that would like melt or partially melt would work well in there. And you can also put favorite toppings on the top. So if they're having a 4th of July, you put little flags however you want to do it.
Do you know what I think is important, Christine? It doesn't matter how they turn out. They don't have to be perfect. It's about the participation. It's about the involvement. It's about being with other friends and family, enjoying making them. Whether they come out slightly different, that doesn't matter, does it?
Not at all. In fact, that's one reason why I purposely would not doctor the photos. I had the students help film them right out of the oven so that everybody would get ideas on what it would look like actually. The students that helped, they all read the recipes. They helped create part of it when they're making them. So they would make them on their own. I would just let them be and let them participate. And then when theirs came out of the oven, that's how we snapped the pictures at. And a lot of times, I mean, we just had excitement parties. They were so motivated.
Absolutely, that's the whole idea. Now, I want to go to the cooking section of the book because that's the big section. And you've grouped, as far as I can see, the recipes under 11 categories. And I'm thinking, was this intentional so as to make it easy for youngsters, people to, if they want to make a pasta menu, so they just go to the pasta section, then they can go and have a look at all the different pasta menus, dishes that you've got there, choose one, and then follow those guidelines and get those ingredients. So, did you set this book out, intentionally this way to make it easy for the teenagers, the youngsters, people in general, people of all cultures, backgrounds, abilities to easily access your dishes?
Well, actually, I did do it that way in particular, but I call them, my intention is for, I don't know if you in the United Kingdom, when you go out to eat or something, they'll say you'll have a four-course meal or a six-course meal. These actually are like the courses, and then you can pick and choose. So if you want a one-course meal, you just look up what you want, or two or three. So if you want soup or salad, these categories range all the way from appetizers to dessert. So you can make an entire meal. Also, when the kids for competing, I had a couple kids buy it to use the book for competition, and they would practice and say, okay, I want to make something out of this category using such and such ingredients. And then they would compete in their homes and have fun that way with the
Great,
different
that's the whole
people.
idea. Now, you mentioned appetizers, and funnily enough, that's where I want to go to
Oh,
in the first part of this section. And under the appetizers and starters, you have 31 recipes here. So I'd like to ask you, can we talk about two of them? And the two that caught my imagination was the corned beef cheese balls, which is on page 76, everyone, and the Reuben quichelettes on page 95. Talk us through these, Christine. Did you have fun making these recipes?
okay. The with the cheese ball, we usually in the States will use Philadelphia cream cheese. Very nice, soft, creamy cheese. If it's not readily available in your state, I know there's different types of soft cheese or goat cheese. I believe quince cheese is one that could be used. These balls you can make. I can get the deli corned beef, which comes in thin slices, and then that I would cut into the little ones and place around the ball. And then you would take your vegetables, cold celery sticks, carrot sticks, maybe pretzels or crackers, and have a variety of that. So if you're having a little party, rugby party, football party, whatever, you can set these out for a treat for people. It's very simple to make. You can also change up if you don't want the corned beef, you could put maybe pieces of broccoli and cauliflower and make it like a vegetarian cheese ball, and just have fun with it. Using fresh vegetables or proteins would be great. The quichelettes
Mm.
now are another takeoff of the corned beef. And I'm not sure if you all are familiar with like having boiled dinner with corned beef and cabbage, which is very popular in the States. So we have a lot of corned beef, and that's probably why I have a couple of recipes in the book. But the quichelettes, they're like little tiny, you take a little mini muffin tin and pie crust, and you can use your homemade or store-bought, and then you would fill them with the different ingredients, and then make them like little mini Reubens. Other than that, too, you can make like a twice baked potato. You see that a lot where people will just make it with cheese or sour cream. But in this case, you could use your corned beef, chop it up, put some cabbage and the Russian dressing, and you would have a twice baked potato.
Yeah, because when you look at them, everybody, they're like mini little tartlets. And you could probably have about 10 on a plate and you can share the plate around. And that's where, and maybe some students, when they're at college and universities, they could do some of these and share them around. There's an idea I just thought. And I do have to say, everybody, Christine very quickly caught on to the fact that I am a rugby supporter. That's why she put rugby in there. And when she said it, I was put my thumbs up and I was laughing at her. You couldn't see that bit, but believe you me, I just went, yes, rugby, yes. Um, Now, let's go to the section, Christine, under condiments, sauces, and gravy. Now, we all know that a good sauce, or in the French terms, a good roux, makes a meal. You have to get this right. And, it's vital. And so is equally putting the right amount of seasoning in, the herbs, the salt, the pepper. That is all, important as well. And you've got 8 recipes here. Now, I liked the mango jalapeno jelly. Now, I know in America you pronounce the jalapeno slightly different, but that's how we pronounce it over here in the UK. And I'm sticking to that one. I'm sticking to it. Now, these little mango jalapeno jellies are on page 116 in the book, everybody. They look very, very appealing. Are they easy to make?
Very easy to make. The recipe is there, however, that is not photographed. The condiment section, I had to cut photos down somewhere, and that was my section I chose to cut out. But the mango jalapeno, um, I believe jalapeno is pronounced a little bit different too in Mexico, so that's a variety. But what it is it's a spicy pepper. And you can use the really sharp peppers too if you want. I believe there's some really sharp ones out there, but you can use mild of any brand or anything. That's where you could substitute. But this mango jalapeno jelly you can use as I found it at a restaurant one time. I was introduced, it was an Indian, I believe, restaurant, and they had these chickpea fries and it was my first time having a chickpea fry and also the jelly. And so I wanted to create this identical thing when I got home, and I did. So my chickpea recipe is in the book, and also this jelly. And this jelly I found I could use on like grilled fish or grilled chicken, or put it on top of your cream cheese bagel. Use it as a topping. So it's got a very big, broad variety that you can use this for. And with the kids in, make sure that when you're doing it or have a sleepover, that you make sure that you don't put a really hot pepper in there because I don't know if your friends would appreciate having a bite of that in the morning. So you can put them at a mild or, at least let them know ahead of time. Um,
Sure. I mean, you say in your book here, this is jelly. This jelly is sweet and tangy and can be used on breads, bagels, or as a favorite dipping sauce. So yeah, there you go, everybody. That's what you can use it for. Very simple, very quick, and but don't put the really hot jalapenos in. Your friends might not like it. Now, we all know how important fruits are and for a healthy diet. Uh, Here in this part of the book, you have 15 recipes. And I liked the apricot candied figs on page 121. Now, I have to say they look delicious. And when you look at it on the page there, everybody, the photograph, it's got the apricot candied figs in little ramekin dishes. So these, you can make them for each individual. So if you've got 6 people, then you can make 6 of them. Or if you've got 8 people, you can put 8 ramekins and make 8 of these apricot candied figs. Would you care to tell us where this idea came from and talk to us about these lovely apricot candied figs?
Well, here's a picture of them. If you can see, I have them in the little tiny ramekins, and I made them individually for my family. I always like to do little treats when the kids come home from school, or my kids want to have when their friends come over. And so we can make these up ahead of time and have them in the fridge and then just lightly heat them up. They're very nutritious. First of all, I found out too that in Britain, in the United Kingdom, they're very popular with figs and apricots. So you have a lot of different kinds of figs. So you could pick your choice of type fig that you want to use. Also, you pair this up with, like I did pistachios on the recipe. Those are very good, but you could use hazelnuts or any type of a roasted nut that you want or plain, depending on your diet. You could add honey, a variety of yogurt. You could use plain yogurt, vanilla yogurt, or take a flavored yogurt and pair it up with a different type of a fruit if you'd want to put strawberries in there. So you can have fun with this one also. It doesn't take a lot of time to make, and it's great to make ahead.
And that's the beauty of Christine's recipes, everybody. You don't have to follow it to the letter of the law. You can put your own favorite foods in. That's, the creative part of it, the fun part of it, and making them all with your friends, especially young teenagers. Now, we all love a good pasta. And, especially when you go to Italy, the Italians will always tell you their pasta is totally different to everywhere else around the world. And I think they're right, actually. So I want to go to the section here, Christine, under the pasta. And it looks amazing. You've got 21 dishes here, 21 recipes. Now on page 179, when I looked at this page, I saw lemony orzo with hazelnuts. And this caught my imagination. And I have to say, I thought, hazelnuts and pasta, does that really go together? So, and you say this recipe serves 6. Would you care to talk us through this recipe? And the hazelnuts fascinated me here.
I'd love to. Again, here's a picture, if you can see it. And it's basically a dish that you can use as a side dish, or you can use it as a regular dish with putting and pairing different proteins in it. In my case, I have it orzo. First of all, the pasta, you can use that all alone, and you can use it in soups. Or cold pasta salads of different types. In this case, I chose to make it a warm dish, but you could also eat it cold. I paired it with a different type of cheese. You can use a feta cheese. Um, I'm not sure if quince cheese, if that crumbles or not, but you want to stick with the type of cheese that might be a little bit crumbly, so that you can have it and see it. Blue cheese is another good one you can use. As far as the nuts, you can pair it up with different nuts other than the hazelnut. I chose hazelnut because at the time I couldn't find it was a Hawaiian type of a nut I was looking for, and couldn't find it. So I thought, well, I'm going to substitute in my own recipe and put down what I wanted, and found out that it tastes very good. So this is something else you can take to your lunch. If you're in college, you can keep it in your refrigerator. Eat it hot, eat it cold. Very simple to make.
Yeah, because you say in your book here, this dish will with goes well with cooked shrimps, chicken or fish, I know, and also as like a side dish as well. So it's very versatile. But as Christine says, you can substitute the various things to suit your own needs. Whether you're a person, who is a vegan or a vegetarian, you can adapt it to um, your own personal needs. So they're not hard and fast recipes, are they, Christine?
No, no, they're not. They're basically made. They're all base recipes, and they're made so that you can make it to whatever diet you're on. If you're gluten free, use gluten free. If you, for beginners, you can start with boxed pasta. And as you progress through cooking and learning, you can start making your own pasta where you just pat it on the table. And instead of rolling it out and then cut it into different forms. And then you can progress into the actual pasta machines and start making the really difficult making pastas. Um, I had a student that I've known since third grade. And he's a teenager. He was 17 at the time we made, and I went to his home and he's on the low spectrum of autism. So he was able to read with help. And some people, that's one thing too about my book is I have audio, I have digital, and I have the actual book for everybody learns different. And in this case, he wanted to do lasagna, and also he wanted to do regular pasta. So in order for him, I didn't want him to have knives. His mom didn't want him to have knives. So we had plastic knives you can find on the market that are really nice and they're not sharp. And he patted the dough out and then was cutting in just regular lines and shapes. And then his mom would make it for him on the stove. Funny thing about that one is I forgot that sometimes with autism, if you they know something, they constantly repeat. And so every day he was asking his mom for noodles. That was one thing. It was like, oh no, but he gradually got out of it because she, gave it to him when he wanted it with when it was time for it. So he had fun doing that. Also in the pasta. I have varieties of lasagna, and he wanted to make lasagna for a company. And so he was reading the book, and I showed him how to do it, standing next to him, had him do it. And then he wanted to make another pan. So I said, okay. But he said, no, you go away. Go away. Didn't want me there. He wanted to do it himself. And so I watched him and he was reading the book and doing the steps by himself. And he was so happy that when his came out of the oven looking close to the picture that was there, he was really happy. So he was a teenager at that time. So he was old enough to know how to do this with assistance because of the special needs.
But that was something important for him to do it himself. The go away means I'm going to do this myself. And this is what you can do with Christine's recipes. They are, you can make them yourself or you can make them with friends or make them with family. You can do, with just two people. The choice is endless. These recipes and dishes are flexible, but as I constantly come back to the point, they are there to make food enjoyable and particularly for youngsters to understand the benefits, the health of food, making good dinners, making good meals, but having them and sharing them with friends and family of all backgrounds, cultures, and abilities. This is what this book is about. It's giving the people this opportunity to do it themselves. Now, you and I like a good soup, don't we?
Oh, yes, definitely. In fact, I think we chose the same type when we were talking the other day. And I
I've
think,
given the
oh,
choice here,
wow.
everybody. I've given the choice over to Christine. I said, you pick your favorite soup and I'll talk about, I want you to talk about mine. And it actually transpired that the Italian wedding soup, which is on page 316, was both our favorites. So talk to me about your favorite soup. How do you make it and how quick can, somebody make it and put this together?
Oh, okay. Well, this soup in particular, and how I have it set in the book, it's kind of like two recipes in one. There's little tiny meatballs in the soup. So I have a section right there with the meatball recipe, and you can use whatever type of proteins you're used to using to make your favorites. So you can use ground beef, ground chicken, ground turkey combination. And you can make these meatballs into little tiny meatballs for the soup, but then there's always extra left, and you can make bigger ones and maybe save it for another day. And you could have it for spaghetti and meatballs or something like that, or a meatball sandwich. So then what you do is you make those little meatballs and you just set them aside. Another thing about the meatballs is you don't have to stand and fry them. You can do that if you choose to, if you don't have an oven. But if you have an oven, it's best you probably just put them on a pan and bake them. They come out so flavorful. You don't lose and you don't get all that extra grease and stuff with it. So once the meatballs are going and on the side, then you can start the broth. And my choice of in the cookbook, I use the chicken broth. And you can use this is another one. You can change up the soup and you can make it into whatever soup you want by changing up the broth. You could use beef broth or vegetable broth. So it's not like you have to be specific on the chicken broth. Also, I use some orzo, which we were talking about before, the little tiny pasta. You can leave the pasta out. You don't have to put the orzo in. However, I like to have it there, it's kind of like a little bit of a starch that I need for my diet. And the greens, this is another thing I like to put like pieces of spinach in my particular. I believe the other Italian wedding soups that are out, I know that I've had, have like a Swiss chard or a different type of green from their specific state or country. So you can just tear it up and let it cook in there. So that's another thing you can do for variety. Also. That's pretty much how I have it, just very simple broth, and with the vegetable in it. And then you put the little meatballs in. Now, you can make the soup broths ahead of time and then use them and put different fresh vegetables and make it into a vegetable soup. But that's why I like the Italian wedding is it's so flexible. And at the time, what I have in my refrigerator
Yeah.
is what goes in.
It's true, because I mean, when I look at the recipe here, you've got on your soup base here, you've got chicken broth and you've got cannellini beans, rinsed and drained. You've got spinach, fresh stem ends, chopped and drained. You've got garlic cloves, minced, crushed oregano. So again, you can put your own herbs in, you can put your own beans in, you can put your own spin on this. You don't actually have to follow Christine's menu. You can do it yourself, but just use the base of what she's talking about to create it, particularly the step-by-step set of instructions, of how to do it. So make your own up and call it your own wedding soup. What a good idea. I've only
Right.
just thought of that. Now, we all know how important vegetables are. How many times you hear the doctor say you need to have plenty of fruit, plenty of vegetables in your diet? And we all go, yeah, yeah. And, for most of us, vegetables tend to be boring and bland, and we sort of reluctantly eat them. They're unattractive, they're not appealing. But when I looked at your book, you seem to have changed that for me. The way that your vegetable recipes here, dress them up. They look very appetizing. So
Oh,
I
thank you.
thought, okay, I'm going to focus on this section. And I have to say, I thought on page 341, where you've got the green and gold hot curried corn. And I thought, oh. Interesting. And now, I don't think we've said this, or I can't remember if we have, but Christine actually comes or came from Wisconsin, the state of Wisconsin. So she's got a vegetable here And it's right towards the very end of the book on page 356, Wisconsin red cabbage. So talk to me about these two recipes, these menus, and how are these youngsters and teenagers and people going to enjoy these little
Okay.
gems?
First of all, the green and gold hot curried dish. I'll have a picture here. I don't, I don't know if you can see that. What it is I have made it into a big dish in Wisconsin. Green Bay Packers, of course, go Packers. It was a dish that we would make and have Packer parties. So I'm sure all young teens, when you're in school with your getting ready for homecoming or your different things. You have parties at your prom and things, and get-togethers after football games. You can have something like this made ahead of time, and then you just lightly heat it up. I use like frozen corn in it. I use frozen peas, things like that to make it. And also in there, you can use, I say curry, and the garam masala is the one that I kind of prefer for my choice. I had a friend that had that and introduced me to that particular spice. And so that's one reason why I have that in here. You can use corn chips. I like to use the scoop size where you can scoop it and take a bite. But there's other things out there you can use, Dorito chips, or you can make them put this over nachos would be another one for kids, to just make a nacho plate with it, and have something like that. That one is like very, very easy to make. And I'm thinking that more for your school colors, you could use a different type of vegetable that might match something closer to your school colors. As far as the cabbage, the Wisconsin cabbage, that is one, actually, the British are very popular for their British baby red cabbage. In the States, we can get that, and it comes in like small little heads, very, very tender. And you can use that in a big variety of ways. You could use it for making cold salads, coleslaw, chop it up into a regular salad for you for take to school. In college, I like to make, some of the college kids like to use lettuce mixed with a little bit of raw cabbage. And that would be a perfect one to use, would be the red one. And you could always use the white-headed cabbage as well, but it teaches you to do the different textures. What my book I like to teach is let you pick your different textures, your different cultured spices and herbs, flavors. And this one, you can cook the cabbage, add some crisp bacon to it, apples. You could add some fresh fruit, depending what's in season. Um, and basically, another thing too is a lot of times I've heard, even on the cooking shows, they have like a cooking show and then they have a separate baking show. And people think that you can only cook or you can bake. But as you grow into it and start doing it, you will find my book is set up that it teaches you that they're familiar. My step-by-step recipes go for the baking section, and it also goes the same for the cooking section. I have photos of the things, and I talk to you as you go along. And you will find that if you can make a cupcake or a loaf of bread, you can also make soup and salads.
I know you've got the book beside you there.
Yes.
Could you just show everybody the Wisconsin red cabbage, the picture? It's very colourful, everybody. And when I look at it, it's got the red cabbage dish is sweet and sour. There's a sweet and sour version, and it can be done as a side dish. It's mainly a side dish, everybody. And you can garnish it with your own slow braised, whatever menus that or whatever ingredients you want to use. But the red cabbage is the main one here. But here comes the picture. Do you want to talk about that picture? Just lower it down a little bit, please. That's it. Beautiful.
Okay.
Talk to me about that picture.
Okay, this picture, actually, it's a sweet and sour version that I've been able to use as a side dish or I can just use it as a regular dish, or I use it like with roasted meats. On
Oh,
here, I have the raw apple. You could probably put quince on the top to give it a little bit of a tartness. Fresh cranberries can be used in there. And I think rhubarb is another one that I did, but I also like to put in when I'm cooking that or displaying it. The kids had fun with that one. They actually have orange zest in it, and I don't know if you could see it on the picture. It's not real clear, but as when you have the book in front of you, it'll specifically you'll be able to see those special little notes that are there.
there are the notes there, everybody. They're very important and they're very useful. Now, I hope we've given you a tantalizing, you know, view, a tour of this book. The other sections that we haven't touched upon, now that's the meat section, the potato, rice, and grains section, the poultry section, the salad section, and the seafood section. So there are another five sections. But the idea, the concept of the interview is just to give you a tantalizing, whet your appetite as to what you can get from this book. In particular, young people of all backgrounds, cultures, abilities to adapt the recipes, the menus to themselves, but above all, have great fun making it and with their friends or the family or with just a friend or just on their own. That's the whole idea. Enjoy making food. And this is what Christine's book is all about. Making food healthy and enjoy making it. Now, I know at the moment, Christine, you don't have any plans to write another book, but where can people get your book from?
Well, right now, the publisher, Trafford Publishing, has it at their site. I have it on my website, which is www.teenscookbook.com. So it's a very easy title to remember. Also, that website, besides being able to buy the book, has different podcasts and videos. You'll see my cooking class with the kindergartners cooking with assistants, the teenagers that are there, and then the book signings. So if you have questions, there's also a blog part in there that you can write me or my email in there to write me questions. And trying to think, I
I
guess,
would say, everybody, that's about it. This is
yeah.
what she's about.
Oh, I know you can. I forgot what the question. Sorry. That the book is available anywhere online, any country, pretty much if you can get it online through Google, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. There are a few small stores that have it. Not many in stores have it, so you have to pretty much get them online.
Yeah. So I'm just left with saying to Christine Burton, thank you very much for coming on my show from all the way in Alabama, United States of America. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Oh, you're welcome. Enjoyed it immensely. Thank you.